And hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's live stream as we are bringing everybody in here. I know JC's popping in. Still waiting on Andrew, Christy, and Ernie Davieau. They're going to be coming on. So welcome to everybody who's here tonight. Let's see. Let's go to these comments here, guys. How are you, Rye? How are you, JC?
I'm doing great. I just finished another live just before this with Paranormal Paul. We had Susie in the chat, and she's back over here too as well. I know we had a couple other ones, but I'm doing great. It's surprisingly cold here.
Is it really? JC, how are you, sir?
I am fantastic. I was not on a live before this. I was laying on the couch. But it is 45 degrees here. Do you got me beat there, Rye?
So you're talking Fahrenheit. I'm a Celsius guy. So
sorry, yes.
Yeah, I know. The Canadian with the Canadian with the Celsius. Let me look into that. But it was 11 degrees in the morning. So which for here is 11 degrees Celsius. I'm gonna guess it's around like 50, maybe around there. I don't know. If anybody in the chat knows,
everybody in the chat, by the way, Catherine Gay, Larry Fisher, and Holly Mangum are our moderators tonight, so thank you to them. Hello, everybody. Hopefully you guys will enjoy tonight. There goes Andrew. Andrew, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing?
Everybody, here we go. Welcome to tonight's live stream, everyone. Andrew, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you. We're just waiting on Ernie Davieau to pop in, but I mean, just to let everybody know that's here tonight, obviously this is going through Planet 412, but I want everyone to understand this is like not technically Planet 412. This is something else. Rye, Andrew, JC, me, our channels, we kind of have we're creating a cool kind of connection there. So everybody can know that we're going to, do some cool things every week. And hopefully the crew will always be able to do this. So what do you guys say about that?
I think it's fantastic. Yeah. So this is what do we call ourselves? This is the town, the Supernatural Townhouse Sessions, where it's like
Town Hall. Isn't it Town Hall?
Town Hall.
Yeah.
Town Hall.
We don't even know.
Townhouse?
This is bad. Yeah, you said townhouse.
Great. Good job, Ryan. Good job. You guys are supposed to just roll with it and not correct me on it.
We talk about the paranormal and we bake brownies. It's a whole thing.
Sometimes grandma stops over.
What about yourself, Matt? How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. So just officially the Supernatural Town Hall Sessions. So if you see the graphic for tonight, Andrew, Christy, and JC, did you both work on that, or was that just you, Andrew?
I'll take all the credit. That one's me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do for fun. Is I just play around with Photoshop, and so it's always it's a fun pastime for me. So anytime you guys get some type of graphic or something thrown your way, I was bored for 10 minutes, and it just occupied my time a little bit.
Let me tell you something. I'm telling everybody right now, and I've been getting graphics from my buddies, like making my logos today's are incredible. Rye, that was you, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I like it. First I was like, was that from JC or was that from Rye? Then I'm like, oh shit, this is, excuse my language, everybody. This is from Rye. So Andrew, Christy, he makes amazing graphics. He's made me some really cool ones. And JC's really good at what he does. I've seen some of his work here too. So thank you to all of you guys.
Yeah,
I'm spoiled.
Hey, what can I say?
Yeah. Making me things. What do I need to do? I'll just sit back and let you guys hold the show.
So, so before we get too far, you know, for all our everybody in the community here who's in the chat, make sure if you haven't subscribed to Matt's channel, which I'm sure you have though because you're here, make sure you subscribe to Matt's channel, hit that like, hit that notification, and then for these two boys down here, the Sasquatchers, you know, check them out. Make sure you like and subscribe their channel, hit the bell for notifications, and then finally, you know, oh, I keep missing my hands because it's mirrored. You know, you can check me out, Codegas Codex of Curiosities. My first episode, audio episode of the new of my new channel has just dropped today, which was Mr. Matt here. I had him back for, and everybody hears his story. I'm not downplaying it all. Like Matt has probably the best, if not of, you know, maybe the top 2 or top 3 Dogman stories of all time. So I thought I was going to go a different gear, and we went for life after the encounter. You know, I survived life after the encounter, and Matt, you know, his Dogman story is so crazy, so intense, but he's got more than that, and that's what I wanted to explore.
Thank you, and it was an honor being on there. I want to say hi to Ernie Davieau. He just popped in.
Hey,
how are you, Ernie?
Pretty good. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing well. Thanks for being here tonight, sir. We got a full house tonight.
I see that. How you doing, Ray?
I'm doing great, Ernie. It's great to see you again. I know I had you on when I was with the Lost Frequency, and your story, probably one of the best Bigfoot stories. And Matt was hitting me up like, you got to interview Ernie. You got to interview Ernie. And when we did, I was like dumbfounded by this this experience. It left me speechless. It was immense. It was everything.
Thank you.
Ernie's had an incredible one, man. You know, you have groups of people that you kind of lean towards, you know, that you have that feeling. This one's true. When I heard Ernie's, man, I was like, well, he reached out to me, actually. Kind of reverse. So I can actually say Ernie reached out to me. Now, he didn't believe in Dogmen a while ago. He heard mine, and he came around, and him and I are working together, you know, along with other people to help bring these communities together instead of them being fractured. And, you know, for whatever reason, there's that weird kind of strain between Bigfoot and Dogman communities. Right. I don't really get that. And Ernie and I aren't really about that kind of, it's kind of strange to me. It's like, work together, everybody. There's something weird going on here. You know, Andrew, JC, I mean, you guys agree, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I've noticed that the Bigfoot community in particular, it gets really huffy about a lot of things that they can't throw into a biology book. And for me, my with the 6 months or so that we've been doing our show, like talking to everybody that has the experience outside of that biology book, to me, has just created this foundation of belief as far as I'm concerned. So I'm very much into the woo side of things. And I think that's the fracture. You got your biology book Bigfooters and the woo Bigfooters, and they can't get along with each other, much less now incorporate a Dogman.
Right. That makes perfect sense. And, you know, here's my thought on it. We're not dealing with, you know, a situation of, you know, someone that hasn't had it, or these are experiencers, period, both sides. Something's going on here. And obviously, just like a lot of the Sasquatch experiencers, there's a darn near a lot of them, you know, and everybody's not crazy. Everybody's not lying. So somebody's having different experiences. Well, those two, I mean, it has to be connected in some way. You know, they're both high strange, and so I separate them. Ernie, your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like you're saying that the camps, first of all, are just divided. And then within inside, mainly the Bigfoot camp, they're fractured. They're splintered in every direction, and they have a huge bias on each one of these little camps on their opinions on what it is, what it's doing, where it is. They can't get together on the research. Whereas in the Dogman, you're finding that the people that have had these Dogman encounters, or even the eyewitnesses they're taking information from, are all focused on one thing, which is really good. Okay. You don't get that in the Bigfoot community. It's either the woo or, I don't include portal as being the woo factor or anything like that, or they have 3 toes or 5 toes. So they're just going after banging on trees, basically. They're throwing a lot of information away, where it seems like the Dogman camp that's out there, they are taking every bit of the information and utilizing that information. There's been a lot of information in the Bigfoot community for over 55 years, yet it seems like they throw it off to the side and they just keep going around banging on trees. I don't know if it makes sense to people in whooping.
Before I let them jump in, I just want to say this. You have to think there has to be a little bit of disinformation type people. And thank you, DJ Tyler. Just like the UFO community, you have people in there giving false information, trying to, make it look like everyone's just a nut and it's just crazy. Same situation with the cryptids, right?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm just like I think everyone is. Some people get so set in their ways and they got blinders on, and they have they're just looking for confirmation bias. They're trying to, this is only agrees with my rationale and my thinking, and that's all I'm going to see. And like Ernie was saying, they just throw things away. And I think it's ridiculous that we are doing that. That's not good science. Good science is taking in every account, even as improbable as things can be. You can't discount it. With so many of the witnesses that I've talked to who've had, woo things, maybe they don't actually see them happening together, but they're happening in the same vicinity at the same time. It's too much to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's UFOs, there's lights in the trees, and then Bigfoot or Dogman, Dogman coming through portals. You can't deny that. You can't turn a blind eye and say, I didn't see that evidence. I'm not going to listen to that eyewitness account because it just doesn't fit my confirmation bias. We have to, and I heard this the other day where it's kind of like, I don't believe, belief is a strong word because that means you're holding fast to something. We have to always be malleable in our beliefs, more or less. We have to be able to willing to accept that maybe I'm wrong. And, there's this new piece of evidence. Okay, I have to take that into account. And maybe that's going to change my point of view.
Andrew, JC?
I'll let JC go first. I always talk over him.
Okay.
I always talk over you. I don't want to lord over you.
I appreciate it.
The floor's yours.
I think Rye said it really good. And I think for me, I'm open to anything, man. I don't need to subscribe to one specific belief about Bigfoot or the Dogman or Frogman or Swamp Gas or whatever it might be. I'm here for the ride and the journey, and peace, love, and understanding, brother. But I'll sit down and I'll take anything seriously. If you, and I'm not saying I'm gullible, but I'll hear just about anyone out.
I agree. You're open-minded. I like that mindset.
Especially if you have, it's hard. I don't think everybody is a liar. It's very hard for me to believe that every single person who comes on these podcasts or has written books or whatever could be a liar. Somebody is telling the truth. I would say a majority of these people actually experienced something. So it's hard to discount somebody's personal experience, especially when I wasn't there. And for some reason, the paranormal just stays away from me. So I can't even compare it and be like, well, yeah, I had a similar experience. So I have to take their word for it. And I'm okay doing that.
I agree on that, because what you've got now is we have something new, kind of new, basically new, is the Dogman. So you don't have, let's say 100,000, 200,000 people are out there in these forums, never mind on the podcasts. So you're going to have a lot of these people who are going to mirror other experiencers or live vicariously through these other experiencers. But rest assured, I'll bet that it's going to start happening in the Dogman community, is these people are going to come out. but I think that the dogman community has more experience at this point to be able to differentiate between somebody who's doing things like this. Whereas in the Bigfoot community, you've got them actually running podcasts. And we know that if you want to witness, you've got to have really some kind of a connection to that witness. And usually, I hate to say it, but your best connection to people who really suffered traumatically over an encounter are only willing to speak to people who have experienced that. And it's your experiencers who know the truth, like as in, and I'm not just picking me out just because of my experience, but if I take a report from somebody, if I listen to somebody, I'm listening for key factors in there. And one of the things that's changed over 3 years is they were 15 feet tall, they were 20 feet tall. I've heard 40 feet tall. Now, over the past 3 years, what do we have? 7.5 feet tall. How many of these people, so the viewers can hear this, how many of these people can actually go out in the woods and look at a stranger out in the woods at 35 yards and tell any one of us how tall they are? So that's where we have is they're not being taught how to research, how to get this information or anything. And we are finding that it is more close-knit, the dogman and the Bigfoot people, a lot of the Bigfoot community realizes, because in a lot of encounters, they're seen together. And I don't mean side by side always. I mean in the vicinity of each other within, let's say, 100 yards or 200 yards. And that's been taken from some big accounts that are out there. So fractured it is, and they need to join together if they're going to further this research, and rather than just have tracks that are out there. I mean, let's face it, 55 plus years, there is more evidence that is out there, but do people talk about it? No, they don't talk about it. They don't push it. They just lean more towards the woo, because that'll sell the coffee cup.
Andrew, what are your thoughts on there, man? You haven't been able to talk here.
Yeah.
Well, sensationalism is what sells. Ernie's right about that. And so obviously a lot of people are going to lean into that. I should lean into that a little more myself so that we could start getting some extra eyes on what we're doing. Like, we could be the Zach Baggins of Dogman, right? We could go out in the woods and start punching the air and cause a scene for clicks.
Enough room for everybody, for sure.
But the fact that we aren't doing that, we're real researchers. I mean, nobody's an expert in this. And something that is interesting is that I would say within the last year alone, we've seen kind of the point that Ernie made early on with what he was saying coming to fruition, in the sense that there are all of these podcasts and there are a lot of dogman conversations happening that didn't happen 5 years ago, didn't happen 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. I think we're in that precipice of seeing all of these people who are starting to realize it's okay to talk about this stuff. We had a really, really close, dear friend of mine on an episode of our show, and I had to label him as a John Doe because of how terrified he is of the world judging him for having experienced something. He's not done anything as far as the public eye goes, but he's still afraid of what their perception is going to be. So I think what we're seeing with Dogman now, thanks to people like Matt, is that we're hearing those stories, and it's just going to keep coming and coming and coming, and then that allows us the opportunity to talk to them, research. We get to have them on our shows and have our chats, and as someone who has witnessed something similar, I'm not a Dogman experiencer, I'm not a Bigfoot guy. I saw a UFO. I had an incredible experience, and now John's shaking his head because he's heard this story 1,000 times. But I'm simply going to say that I have been that person in that scenario where everybody's rolling their eyes because I saw something. So I get it. I just never had, I don't know. I never cared what people thought of me in any way. So I couldn't care less if somebody was going to roll their eyes, but I understand why so many other people who have these experiences are so terrified to come forward. I think what we're doing I don't want to say what our shows do is therapeutic for our guests, but there has to be some level of that. There's comfort in that. We're here for you.
Yeah, there is. Absolutely. I agree with that. If you go to any of the forums, we're not going to mention these forums at all, but you see a lot of bullying and harassing in there that they don't stop these people. And you got to imagine, for somebody who has had an encounter on anything, UFO or anything, what they're really looking for. And when they get into, they're searching, and they come by some of these forums and they're being harassed. People are laughing at them, and it's traumatic. It can be very traumatic. If I had my druthers, I would rather go out. I don't, but I would rather go out looking for the Sabe people or the Sasquatch people or Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it, rather than a dog man. Okay, because I'm not so hip on that right there. Okay, I would just go out with matches and some sandwiches or something, looking for a Sasquatch. Okay, taking that next step on communication. But dog man, I'm thinking it's not a friendly thing at all, from what I hear, and I could be totally wrong, but I have not heard of a pleasant account. Now, I have heard of some Sasquatch ones that were not pleasant. Are they true? Who knows? They seem to be true. Mayan is an exception to the rule. Very pleasant, very friendly. It was trying to figure out what the heck I was doing there. But again, what's destroying it is these forums, some of these forums that are out there, whereas the dogman community doesn't have that. Okay, it's taken more seriously, whether you want to go to watch a show from England or from Canada or whatever. It's taken a lot more seriously than what we do here. We just allow people to come in and say that they're a Bigfoot believer and just harass everybody on there.
How about we're a believer? Let's go there. Let's just, number one, be a believer, be open, listen to people's experiences. We're getting deep in here. I want to try and kind of rein us in here because we had a subject we wanted to talk about.
We did, and I just had one last comment though before we jump too far. And Ernie, I agree with you. Like, I wouldn't say that it's a new. No, that's okay. I wouldn't say it's a new topic. With Dogman, I would say it is ramping up. It is escalating, but Dogman theoretically has been around since the ancients. If we start talking about like Saint Christopher, if we start talking about Anubis, and then also like the Anubis was the god where he guided people to the underworld. And strangely enough, in the Mayans, there's Sholok, and he was almost identical to Anubis, where he guided the dead to the underworld, which is, so these gods, as depicted as dog-headed men, are exactly dogmen.
Right.
I agree with that you mentioned about Saint Christopher. That's in biblical times. Yep. You're getting, werewolves or dog-headed people. Just so everyone knows, I always talk about I have lupus. Well, that just so happens to mean wolf as well. That's kind of strange, that connection. So, all of it pretty nice.
Well, we're looking at Gilgamesh and Enki, but they've been there. I can, like Matt's encounter, all right? I think that's more terrifying, and it keeps people really back a little bit more, because you're talking about Anubis, you're going almost right into the Anunnaki, things like that. And
let's not go that deep tonight.
Let's roll this into but don't get me wrong. I think this is a great topic for another night. We could talk hours.
The mythology of it and everything. It's been there for a long time. So when people see these things, it's very difficult for them to, first of all, comprehend what the heck they've seen, and then who are you going to tell? That's the difference. Whereas the Bigfoot community has had these forums out there for a long time, longer. So they've been able to talk a little bit about it. Yeah, I don't know if I make sense on that, a little bit more.
Yeah. I as
Therapy.
someone said, there's more, I don't know if avenues, obviously, because of YouTube and things like that. People obviously have other avenues. I've seen a lot more Dogman stuff pop up. Jody Cook and Kenny Thibodeau over at North American Dogman Project are doing a really good job. Very thorough. They make sure that the information is trustworthy, that they try to debunk anything or try and take credible witnesses.
Right.
So, but I apologize to everyone. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. I want to pull us in. So, we had advertised what we were going to talk about tonight was space. Some situations that made us think about this live stream. I was watching something and they started getting into the discussion of, is space really the way that we've been brought up to believe it really looks like? You a lot of information these days that maybe they're not so forthcoming with everything that's going on outside of this little, who knows what it's shaped like. I'm not saying it's round, I'm not saying it's flat, I'm not saying it's whatever, but it's kind of weird. We can never really get to see the true pictures out there. We can't go past Antarctica. Why are all these things being hidden from us? Just thinking about all of the different stories or experiences that we've heard about space as well. We're going to try and go over a few of these, things that I'm sure you guys have thought about many times. Let's stick with what I just said, Rye. Let's start with you, bro. I mean, do you believe everything is correct the way it's been taught to us?
Growing up, I always wanted it to be real. I always wanted it to be what it was told till I started really looking into. I'm going to hit on the moon landing because we start hitting on the moon landing, and there were so many inconsistencies that came up that it really started me questioning. Like, okay, so we're being lied to, at least on that. So what's to say if someone lies to you multiple times about one thing? What's to say they're not lying about the rest? Including a lot of these pictures. When you look at pictures of
never a straight answer, right?
Never a straight answer. What does that stand for? Exactly. And when you look at the pictures, so let's say they have satellite pictures of Earth. You zoom out, it's never the same. Like the continents are all different sizes. Like at one point, Africa is taking up the whole picture, and another time it's not. Also, there's cut and paste. A lot of the pictures are cut and paste clouds. Like it's easier to cut and paste clouds than it is to redesign them. So it really brings it a lot, to question. It's like, and a lot of the pictures are, they will say like they're rendered photos or they are, like artist rendered photos. Yeah. Like, well, probably, maybe not a lot, maybe all of them. It's something you need to look into if you are starting to question this. What about you, Andrew? What do you think?
Oh, this is a roller coaster of emotions for me. So getting into conspiracies and stuff, I guess my gateway to that was the moon landing. So, as I was younger and, we established on our last town hall, super into Star Wars to nobody's surprise, I always wanted to see what was out there. The moon landings, that hooked me, but over time, unfortunately, I have to say that I kind of like fall closer to what we've been told, just through a lot of the experiments that researchers have done. There's this incredible show on Sci-Fi about, I don't know, probably 13 years ago at this point. It was called Fact or Fake, the Paranormal Files, I believe. And in the first season, they did a moon landing episode with the whole idea to prove all of the conspiracies correct and that the moon landing was in fact faked. And through their various experiments, they kind of landed on the fact that it was actually like extremely plausible. And the one thing that, you know, to this day people always bring up is the flag, right? So we see that American flag and it's shoved in there and it's still extended even though you're in the vacuum of space. And so that flag is extended, like, you know, and the explanation for that is that um well, first, NASA claims that they anticipated some type of uh, horrible image of the flag just drooping. So they put some metal in it to kind of give it some shape and form. And when they replicated the experiment, now it's been like 13 years, but when I saw this, it clicked and I was like, oh man, it's back to the drawing boards. I would love for this to be fake, but now it's back to the drawing boards. Then when they put it through the experiment in the vacuum, they actually recreated the flag staying upright with their vacuum that they created. So it was
intriguing.
Yeah, just proven right there that the flag should actually look like that on the moon. So for me, it's rough because I come to the moon landing for my conspiracies, and I was kind of sold on the moon landing actually happening. So then for me, it becomes a little more difficult for the other conspiracies because the one that drew me in has kind of been proven plausible to me. So it's like anything else. I want something incredible to be happening. I find it boring that there's a vastness of space that was created by an explosion and it's just out there growing and that's the extent of it.
Allegedly.
Right. I don't want to say anything that's going to get us sued.
It's unknown. I'm sorry. I have a problem with the known universe. We know so little about space. How are you going to say it's the known universe? What do you know that we don't know? And then in terms of another conspiracy, I'll leave this
I'm an
to
agent.
JC. You look at the moon landing, but then you can talk about what about the moon itself and all the conspiracies? Is it hollow? Is it a satellite? Is there a moon base there? What's on the dark side of the moon? Another, food for thought, JC.
I just remuted myself. So I'm going to stay away from the moon conspiracies and the Earth dimensional conspiracies and focus on something else since we're talking about outer space. And I think this might be more obscure, and it's something I remember researching heavily in high school, is the radiation wall that exists in outer space that we can't see past. Mm-hmm. Nothing that we have, any imaging tech, whatever you believe that we're able to do, can see past this radiation wall that exists.
Van Allen radiation belt. The Van Allen radiation belt. There you go. Yes.
Yep. So what's beyond there? So I have been wanting to talk about atmospheric beasts for a long time, but for some reason Drew doesn't want to talk about that subject. I think maybe he has some involvement in it, some cover up. But along with the atmospheric beast theory here on Earth, there's also a theory about the possible existence of space creatures. So I always used to fantasize in high school about there being like this giant squid on the other side of this radiation belt, right? Right. I see you want to say something. Oh, no. Okay. I thought you were rolling one up. That's not what I meant to say, but yeah. So, it's always interested me what's beyond this. And there are a few different theories that exists about it, and I've even read theories that people say that it doesn't even exist, that it's just made up by the government to have an excuse as to why that we don't have this imaging that can go certain distances, that our technology really isn't as good as they say. And then a real quick other one that I like is, and this is actual factually proven, so the theory that our universe is ever expanding is not true. There is zero proof that our universe is growing and expanding. and it was all based off faulty data from like the 1950s or 60s. So these recent probes that we've put into space that calculate, like, you know, the light trajectory and that were proving that our universe has expanded, the growing universe theory, are wrong.
Thank you. So again, saying the known universe, well, how much do you really know about it? Because I'm telling you, there's some dimensional stuff going on. There's some parallel universe stuff going on. I fully 100% believe in the multiverse. I don't care Marvel, DC, or Image Comics. I believe in multiverse. I think it's as wild as the human being's mind can get, as crazy or crazier than the real universe probably really is. Ernie?
Yeah, you know, you want to kind of like know what really got me into all of this stuff and everything like that. I apologize to you guys for being a little bit late here, so I missed y'all in the green room.
No apology.
But to me, you know, learning that the truth is out there if you look for it, and there's an awful lot of evidence on absolutely everything. I mean, if we're going to talk about, if you want to talk about space, let's go right to the Bible and go to the Book of Enoch. I mean, how did he come up? How did he come up with a map of parts of the Earth so accurately? It can only really be done from outer space. I mean, we see this in the Aztec carvings on some of their buildings. I mean, how did they come up with that? Was that somebody that way back then was coming up with their own funny book and they're going to put it on a wall and say, hey, look at this, is a space guy? We could, it's there. I think that's the bottom line. What really got me into it was like Science Digest when and National Geographic when the Patterson film came out. And then I started saying, well, if that's real, then what else is out there? And I started really digging into these science things and seeing all these things. And ironically, they were sold in what they called smoke shops. Okay, you weren't supposed to be going into a smoke shop, particularly somebody 8, 9 years old. But they also sold funny books, and I went in there. I mean, if you were how can I say, if you had enough brass to go in there, they would let you in there, and those are the books that I was drawn to. I wanted to know the answers to things from the get-go. And then when that encounter happened to me, I said that, and then everything that I know right now that has been taught to me that the sky is blue can't be true. It can't be true. There's something else there. And the deeper I went, they call them rabbit holes, the more that I found out to substantiate, yeah, way more than likely, we have UFOs, whether people want to think they're from another planet or another dimension. We can probably prove more that it's about another dimension. We look at people like Ron Moorhead that's into quantum physics right now over the whole Sasquatch thing, and we are seeing evidence of this. Like I say, if you go into the Great Pyramids, if you want to go to one of the children born on the Ark, it gives a description of them. You know, if we want to talk about here in the United States, and we have the sons of Noah, that he told them to go to the great inland sea. So what we're seeing is the history, our history that we were brought up on, our history that we were told about is not true. It's changed. Maybe they have a hint of truth in there, because with every lie, as we know, it's good to keep some truth in there too. All right. So you want to start it off with some truth and then throw your lie in and then end it with a little bit of truth. So they say, okay. I think that's the problem, is to sort through all of this. You know, I think all of us sitting here can agree that we could talk for hours on any one of those subjects, but the tip of the subject really is this stuff real? Well, yeah. No matter which one we want to pick, it's real. If I had to go back in time if I went back in time by accident, and I wanted to leave a message for any of you guys or the viewers, am I going to put it on a piece of wood or on a piece of paper, write it in charcoal? Maybe put it on a cave wall in charcoal and hope somebody finds it. How about if I put it plain view in rock? Plain view in rock, and maybe somebody's mind will start marinating on that and go, what the heck is this? Let's face it, medieval times, what's one of the things they did? They burned all the books, all the information. Well, supposedly all of them. Okay. You wouldn't want to burn all of them if you wanted to know what the codes were to the vault of gold or whatever. But they have it. We don't have it. But we're awakening up slowly. Everybody's awakening, and they're seeing that Andrew has something, JC has something, Rye has something, Matt has something, I have something. And if we put it all together, there's something asunder here. Okay.
Yeah.
All pretty much fact, real, undeniable. They can say, well, you don't have proof of this. Let's look at it one final way. If you never had an eyewitness, you would have never found the cure for polio, because somebody had to look through that microscope. That's an eyewitness.
Here's the thing, Ernie. Also, if we're talking about the Bible, if we go to like Revelation 6:12, where they talk about when he opened the sixth seal, I looked and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth, and the full moon became like blood. Okay. And the reason why I bring this up is I don't know if anybody has heard this, is that the moon is rusting. Okay. So the moon is currently rusting, and they had found hematite on the moon, and it is rusting, giving the moon a reddish look now. If you actually look closely into that, which brings up another thing is, what do you need for rust? What is one of the key components? There's two key components for rust.
Oxygen.
Yep.
And water.
Iron.
And iron and water. Yeah. Yes. Actually, all those three all work together. The water really helps it, which is true as well. So if we're looking at this, like, why is there oxygen? Like, it adds more questions. Why is I'm not questioning that the moon is there. I actually believe that the moon is there, but what is the moon? And where is it really? Is it really in outer space, or is it maybe more in inner space? Is it closer maybe than what is said to be? Because, if Andrew, if you're saying that you believe, like, some of these experiments are proving that they have gone to the moon by your theory, and JC had brought up the Van Allen radiation belt, which is something that I definitely want to go through, was the humans passing through the Van Allen radiation belt would pretty much kill you, kill you. And, there was one space shuttle that came closer to the Van Allen radiation belt, I can't remember which one, than any other one. And they talked about, seeing lights, like, they had their eyes closed and they were seeing lights from all the radiation that was coursing through them. And the space shuttle was much more protected than the lunar module, or, that was going through, because they pretty much did nothing to protect it. They needed sheets of lead, and they just couldn't actually. I don't know if they actually got any type of sheets of lead. I think it was just aluminum they used to protect them. So you're sending guys through this Van Allen radiation belt to the moon. Why is Buzz Aldrin still alive? With that type of radiation poisoning, hair should have been falling out, teeth should have been falling out. Why are they still? I don't want to say it's like still around. Why were they still around for as long as they were if they went through that type of radiation?
Right.
I want to answer you. I'm dying to, because I've seen some pretty compelling, video and scientific description, which I'm sure JC would like to hear, of why some scientists believe that the moon possibly could be within environmental distance from the planet Earth, and much closer than people really think. Which then again, you're getting in the conversation, be it with cryptids or things in space, other conspiracies. The truth is being controlled by our governments. We're not being allowed to know everything. One of the things I want to know is, why can't you fly over Antarctica? What is beyond that? Why are you keeping people from going there? So, I mean, I don't know. I kind of think that the moon might be closer too, and I find it odd that they talk so much about the danger of the Van Allen radiation belt, and just like you said, Rye, how did they live through that? Buzz Aldrin famously punches a guy in the face for asking him if the moon landing was fake, but I think people have a right to ask. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that had drawn me into that world of conspiracy was the moon landing. And so there's obviously answers to the Van Allen belt. That's the big one that people on both sides always talk about. I won't super get into that. I'm not that knowledgeable, but I read an article today that I thought was interesting that has actually nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I think also a little to do with it. And that is wolves in Chernobyl have now developed a resistance to cancer because they live near that radiation. So what we're seeing is a biological creature that has now developed a resistance to cancer because of radiation. So I'm wondering, and I'm just spitballing here, if that radiation is so intense and these people were flying through it, could that have maybe some kind of lasting effect on their ability to kind of fight off the negative side effects that would be occurring while driving through that? You're a comic book guy, Matt, so let's go ahead and draw a comparison to one of my favorite comics, The Watchmen. Okay, so what if we're seeing some kind of Dr. Manhattan scenario where because of the radiation, their bodies are then immediately immune to it? Is that too sensational for what we're talking about? Or could that maybe be a possibility here?
I'll let your teammate and your cohort over there answer that question. I want to know what he thinks.
I don't know if I want to hear it. Yeah, I had to get a blanket from all the shade he's throwing.
I mean, why couldn't it be a possibility? We treat cancer with radiation, right?
Right.
So, I mean, it's one of those like slippery slope things. Like too much radiation causes cancer, but then we treat cancer with radiation. So if you're blasted with a high amount, what happens? You either die or you're immune. Or, how many years since Chernobyl now? 40, 50, somewhere around there? Getting close, 40? Maybe 40 generations of wolves just being exposed to that radiation was enough. So maybe I need to start exposing myself and my family to radiation in high amounts. So I'm gonna go. I'll be right back. I'm gonna turn the microwave on. Open the door.
Leave the door open.
Pump the brakes on that one. But I thought you were going to mention Fantastic Four, Andrew, before. Another family that was affected by radiation going through space. So it's crazy to think, man. I mean, when I really get upset is when you hear the old standby for the things that we talk about. They can't handle the truth. People would flip out. When you get into the extreme woo or stuff like that, it gets freaky. But I think the majority of the people on the planet, if we had something universe shaking for us, maybe a higher life form, if you want to call them that, comes, and all of a sudden we're all instantly holy, what, and we know for sure they're out there. We're not alone, which I already believe that, of course. But I mean, the mind just keeps expanding, and the possibilities are endless.
Well, here's the thing as well. Like we're talking about inconsistencies. Where are the bubbles coming? When they're out doing spacewalks at the space station, there's bubbles shooting across. And what about what was it?
There was a GoPro launch. A teacher and his student. I watched it a day or two ago, and this GoPro rocket leaves our atmosphere and hits and stops. Why didn't it hit something? What did it stop from? You know what I mean?
And those bubbles, sure look like maybe underwater. Underwater. Yeah. And then what about the mouse that was on what was that? The Tesla rocket or one of the SpaceX rockets? There was a mouse running around on it as this thing is shooting through the atmosphere. I don't know if anybody in the comments has seen that. Let us know. I've watched it. It was ridiculous. You're like, what is going on? And there's things like that just keep happening, and you have to question. And then let's talk about underwater and water. Okay, so as a scuba diver, I'm a certified rescue scuba diver. I know my tank of air and how long it's going to last. And I have a cylinder of compressed air that I use when I go scuba diving. If I'm lucky, I can get 45 because I'm a heavy breather. Maybe I'll get like 45 minutes, maybe an hour out of it. Now, let's go to space travel. Let's go to. We're going to the moon. How much air do they have? How much air was held in that space capsule? You've seen that when people use up oxygen, they start to go lightheaded, and then we run out of oxygen. Maybe they had some sort of device that was able to, like a rebreather, but that's some fairly new technology. It's it's very strange. That's something that I bring up, and I see some people bringing up the spacesuit. Well, what about the boots? Neil Armstrong's suit is on display, and it doesn't match with the footprints that he left on the moon. I keep bringing it back to the moon landing. That there was more questions there than there are answers, and And like I think Ernie was saying earlier was, like they give you little tidbits of truth. And I used to always say this, I can't see the lie. I mean, I can't see the truth because it's concealed by its lies. And I think that quote, and I'm trademarking that, but I think that quote is so real in this day and age. They cover the truth with all these lies, and there is a sliver of that truth within it. So where does it end? Where does it start? I don't know.
Ernie, you want to jump on here? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
Along with what Rye was saying there on the moon, I mean, if you just look at the experiments that were performed on there to find the density of the moon, and it was ironic that it wasn't performed once, but twice that I know of. You may know, Andrew or JC, how many times it was performed, but they let off an explosion on the moon, and they got a ringing sound back. And the first time it was X amount of minutes, and then the second time it was a louder explosion, and the moon they got a ringing sound like it was hollow. I'm not saying, but that's what they got. How would you get
that? Was they said when it landed, when the lunar module landed, that's when they heard the ringing, and the ringing was like 20 minutes or something like that.
I thought it was longer than that. I thought it was hours, like
okay,
3 hours
of it.
Now, here's a question. Okay, because we got ringing. Okay, that means it's a sound. What can sounds travel in the vacuum of space? And like I said, I have more questions. Can sounds travel in the vacuum of space? And then also, explosions. And this is a question I've always had. Don't you need oxygen for explosions? Like this is a genuine question. I truly don't know.
True. Otherwise, you wind up with an implosion. If you have a vacuum and you let up an explosion, you would have an implosion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how could you possibly do something like that? That's just my thought.
Yeah.
How can you have an explosion in space, which is a vacuum, and it doesn't have an implosion? When a star explodes, it implodes and forms a black hole, right? That's what can happen if it's strong enough. So why is that not happening? There's just different things. It's like you were saying, right.
I want to give everybody something real quick. November 20th, 1969, Apollo 12 deliberately crashed the ascent stage of its lunar module onto the moon's surface. NASA reported the moon rang like a bell for almost an hour, leading to arguments that it must be hollow, like a bell.
Yeah.
And it leads into the moon base theory.
Now, why can NASA deliberately crash a vessel into the moon? But if I deliberately crash my car into something, I'm probably going to jail.
Because they suspected. They obviously, I mean, if the five of us had strong evidence on, we'll just throw it in there, the Anunnaki, maybe where did they come from, Nibiru or wherever, okay? And then all of a sudden we started saying, well, what if the moon's not the moon? How can we prove that? And with all their engineers, they said, well, it's easy. Just crash something into it. And if it rings, it means it's hollow. If it's rusting, it means it's not what we think that it is. You know, obviously, I've read this I've seen it one other time too, and I believe it's when you walk through a certain building, it's on the floor, and it's something, it has to do with the truth. Knowledge and truth will set you free. Okay. Now, if they have all of this, they don't want you to know it, and then we're going to go into a political realm, and we don't want to do that. Why would they not share that knowledge with you? Why would they not want you to know this stuff? That's the facts. Because if you knew it, then maybe there's something there that we could actually use, like technology. Okay. We wouldn't be using gas, oil, electricity, Tesla. We're going to go right into Tesla there. Why are refrigerators still?
Well, Nikolai Tesla was a genius, and there's even thoughts that we could get in some deep stuff that was
real
even
deep,
human. And so we won't go there today. But
Yeah.
I agree with you, Ernie. I mean, go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead.
I think not today, but at some point we do need to get into Tesla.
Yeah.
I can throw in my socialist time travel theory for you guys.
Ooh.
That it's a doozy.
I agree with you. Yeah, there's something going on.
I do think that Tesla also, in a marginal setting, has to do with what we're talking about here, because on Rye's own show, I heard a flat earther say that Tesla didn't exist, and that Tesla is a creation of the state itself to back up these claims of science versus the truth.
I was going to bring that up too. Yeah, that was Sean Hibbler. He said, when I asked him what his thoughts on Tesla, he's like, well, Tesla doesn't exist. He was just this person who developed, they said that he developed free energy, but lost it. So then everybody, had this belief. But sorry, Andrew, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was throwing it your way because you had that experience with somebody on your show. And, that does kind of play into kind of what's going on with the curiousness of our space discussion. But also one thing that we have overlooked, and I think it's the most telling of shenanigans, is the fact that the original tapes are gone. NASA lost their tapes. How do you lose the most pivotal thing in the human history?
No. Let's not stop at the tapes. NASA lost all the technology to go to the moon.
Right. Yeah.
That's so, like, to say that straight face, like, how much, they're actors. To say that straight face, we lost the technology to go to the moon. What? How can you lose that technology? But that being said, I guess, what was it, like the Greek fire, and then there was like some sort of cement and Damascus steel. I guess we did lose some technologies, but I think there's so much more technologies that we've lost as well. But or not lost, have been hidden away.
On that note, though, if I could play devil's advocate just real quick, how many hundreds of people supposedly worked on the first moon landing? Okay, so you have your scientists, your engineers, you have the people that are communicating with the astronauts. We've seen the videos, the recreations, whatever, because we know that the originals are lost. But that room has 50 to 200 people inside of it, and if they're not all in on it, that means that they were also, behat by this. So, this kind of for me is where does it end? Are those people all actors? Was it all planned? And why has no one spoken out about it ever since? We have all of these JFK people, right?
Okay, man. Okay, just I think that's a great thing to say. Let's go to the Manhattan Project. How many people worked on that? At its peak, 130,000 people. No one knew what they were actually working on. So it's all called compartmentalized. Oh my God, everybody is here. You're working here. You're working here. You're working here, and you don't really know. Of course, they all knew that they're trying to get to the moon, but if you're here working and think that the people are going to the moon, and we just have you just working on this, and they're literally on a set, and I'm not saying that they were, but I'm just saying that they're on a set somewhere else, and they shot up a rocket that maybe they're not really in or something like that, but the actual astronauts are somewhere else. You think you're doing it. I'm not saying that it's not that everyone's like, well, we're all in on it. We're all believing that they're actually, we know they didn't go there. No. You're believing that they're actually going there, but they're not. Like I'm watching a movie. Do I believe that on this movie that they actually went to the moon or something else? Spider-Man or everybody else with the snap, we're all gone. Do I believe that? No, but maybe it's so real that you actually do believe it. That's my thing. We're going to lead you on. There is a smaller select few that actually know, and everybody else, like the astronauts, of course, had to be onto it. And speaking of the astronauts, when they got back,
thank you. Say it, brother. I was just going to bring that up.
How excited would you be? I was on the damn moon. How awesome is that? They're like,
they look on the moon. They look deflated and devastated. Like, we found some incredible stuff out, guys. Damn, let me tell you one part of it. And they look devastated and broken.
And Andrew, and don't get me wrong, Andrew, like I believe that these things should be brought up so we can discuss them. Like, I think definitely playing devil's advocate is something we have to do, because we have to look at everything, skeptically. We should be able to question everything. And you bringing up those questions, I think it's great that you do that. And I don't mean to be like jumping down on you, but I just get so excited, and I'm like, yes, but like the Manhattan Project, yes.
Yeah, the discussion. That's why we're here. JC, you have something?
Yeah, I was just saying. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. No, I wanted to go back and call bullshit on NASA losing all of this technology and stuff. And here's why. And I'm going to look at this from a completely different standpoint, from a technological standpoint. Okay, everybody, let's look at this. So we had the technology to back this stuff up. We had hard drives. We had disc tapes at that time. The programmers that wrote the codes that were programming the computers on the ship were backed up at many different co-locations. If you don't know what a co-location is, it's a separate area where we store different resources. In the event of loss of one, you have another as a backup. They stored these on punch cards. They stored them on tape. They stored them on those big hard drives on those servers that took up entire rooms. We did not lose anything. Bull. There is no way. I don't care how incompetent a government organization is. When things are backed up, look at any other project from that time period. They were backing stuff up like crazy because this was new technology, having these hard drives, these hard disks, and the punch cards and stuff to back up all this code and stuff. That NASA didn't just was like, I don't feel like using that. Bull. Like, they actually, who was the girl that wrote all that code? They made a movie about her a couple years ago. They come out and they say, hey, look at this. She did all this coding. It's awesome. If you watch the movie, there are scenes where they're backing stuff up on punch cards and on the real discs and the hard drives and stuff. Absolute bullshit.
Thank you. Agreed.
And like, I'm not going to deny that maybe we did go to the moon, but I'm going to say we didn't do it in that bunch, like that rust bucket, that's what I will say. Maybe there was an actual mission to the moon, but it wasn't what we were shown.
Well, do you know what? Oh, sorry, go ahead. I don't want to bogart it.
I'm trying to give everybody enough time. That's my number one concern today. Is I was talking to Stacy honestly about this, is letting everybody have their say. So I'm sorry, Andrew. You go ahead, brother. And then after you, Ernie, please answer your thoughts on that last comment.
All I was going to say is that my favorite theory is that we actually did go to the moon, but we had to fake all the evidence because of ET or Russian interference. But that's all I was going to add to that.
Well, I think that Rye, you gave the answer. We all heard the answer. We never went to the moon. That's why who would crash the landing craft into the moon? Perhaps it was empty. Perhaps there was nobody on board that we indeed did fly something to the moon. Have we thought about that at all? I mean, if we wanted to fool people, look at magicians. You know, they're masters at it. All they need is one person in the audience to help them out on a trick or whatever, and everybody follows along, and they don't even know they're following, and they make it even more believable. Perhaps that's what they did. They never did go. I think wasn't it Neil Armstrong? He was during an interview one time. He was talking to some kid, a young girl perhaps, and she asked him a question, and he looked at her and he said, "Well, perhaps we shouldn't answer that question." What was it that would terrified him when he went to Antarctica? And he wasn't the only one that went there. What did they find there? You know, perhaps exactly what we're saying. All the evidence points to the moon is not the moon. I mean, if we understand math, simple math, go outside and hold a pencil up out there, measure that pencil on the diameter of the moon. Now, how far away is that moon? Let's call it 10,000. So can't we just, I'm not good at math, but can't we just multiply the size of that piece of pencil we just measured by 10,000? And are we really going to come up with something that's like half the size of the earth or whatever? Really? I mean, try it sometime. Maybe it's light diffraction that's throwing us off a little bit there, but I don't know. And why is it you never see the other side of the moon? Ever. The other side of the moon. You know?
One of the only, as far they always say, you know, the smart guys out there that make the decisions that, you know, there are no other astral bodies and other planets that stay at a fixed, you know, spot. Why is that?
Right.
And why is there no actual real recordings? All of those recordings of the dark side of the moon and what's over, it's all hidden, man. What's going on over there?
Yeah, I thought there was no such thing as perpetual motion. That would have to be perfectly perfect, absolute, perfect balance to be pulled from both sides with magnetism. You know, so that's just one example that we have out there that we can challenge people to. If you look at that and you doubt that, then what else is there out there that you can doubt? And when you have people that come out and say, "Well, I've seen this or that," then yeah, that really challenges your belief system completely, and you should be looking around at everything and not take anything for granted. And obviously that's what everybody here is doing. But the moon used to be one of my favorite subjects because I just couldn't wrap my head around. You mean to tell me that thing is how far away is it, Andrew, JC, anybody? How far away is that moon from us?
I'll look that up. Hold on.
10,000. I thought it was like 6,000, 6,300 something.
Well, that sounds right, but even 6,000 something miles.
You're at 238,000 miles according to Google.
900,000, yeah.
288,000 miles from us. Okay, so let's take a half an inch and multiply it by 298,000 and see if we can come up with you know.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's not. You know?
What's up there, Matt?
I said I'm guessing it's not that far. You know, and this takes me to an area I get very, you know, I get upset sometimes. I feel powerful about this. You know, how would you guys feel? And how about everybody watching right now? If we found out all of a sudden that what we're talking about tonight, that things are hidden from us, that they don't tell us all the truth, that the majority of everything we've been taught to believe in books growing up, space, the Earth history, you know, you look at their signs of life, human life on Mars, they're not telling us a lot. What would you do? How would it really affect you if you found out they've been lying to us about everything? Nothing is what they have taught us. That they've lied to us forever. Like I would be in a bad place, man.
I would say, unfortunately, life would still have to go on,
Right.
but yeah, it would be for me. It'd be like, yeah, I kind of knew it, but how many people would actually deny the truth of that lie? Almost kind of like they're like, no, I don't want to believe this. I don't want to believe this. Because it would be so, to some, earth shattering that the reality is gone. And we've seen this here in the past where people are told the actual truth now, about certain things. I won't get into that, but they will just still deny it. The truth is out there, but they will deny it because it will destroy the reality that they have created themselves for, like, the sphere, don't mind the pun, of the reality that they have, that they're living in right now.
Yeah, to know how the magic trick was performed destroys the magic trick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. You hit on a good point, actually, because, like, another thing to consider is that we're already being told, and we are telling you to not trust, the government. Don't trust science. Don't trust this. Don't trust that. Don't whatever. Not to put words in anyone's mouth here, but, we're exploring these other things. So if these authorities and officials come out tomorrow and say, hey, you know what? This stuff is actually real, and this is true, and everything we've told you has been fake, why would we believe them if they did that? And, as far as, like, how that would affect me, I'd like to think that I am hardy like a Russian potato in the winter.
I love that.
I would adapt and survive.
I agree. I would be pissed, though. I have to admit, I would have some internal struggles for a while. I'd be pretty hot, because there's a lot of.
I don't know if I would trust them, Matt. Like, why trust them now? We went our entire lives not trusting them, and all of a sudden they come out tomorrow with, let's say they come out tomorrow with a picture of aliens, and they hold them up. It's like, yeah, here's a picture of Joe Biden slobbering on an alien or whatever, Like,
why are they trying to distract?
Right. Like, they went through the last couple of years, they've been talking about, they've been slowly floating these ideas in front of us, like by declassifying certain things that, maybe there are extraterrestrials and UFOs, or like the Mexican Senate thing that was going on.
The paper mache aliens.
Yeah, here's my paper mache alien that looks like a dead cat in a box. Yes. Like, I don't trust you now. I'm not changing my mind just because you show me an alien body.
Okay, so that brings us to a little bit of a conspiracy theory as well, is Project Bluebeam. Okay, so for those who don't know what Project Bluebeam is, it is this alleged conspiracy that the government is going to stage an alien invasion or alien attack, and that is Project Bluebeam. But why is there not maybe a reverse of that? Not a reverse, but I mean, maybe the government is saying, like, subvertedly, that we're actually going to do Project Bluebeam, but Project Bluebeam is actually going to be real, to the point that when these aliens come, we're all going to be like, aha, it's just the government. This is all bull, when in fact it's actually the real aliens, and they're like, hey, we're here, we're going to help you guys. Something like that. Like, maybe it's like a psyop on a psyop almost.
We're getting really meta here with these conspiracy theories. Like, we're just stacking conspiracy theories now.
Yes.
They are getting high. I agree. But isn't it fun though? I mean, come on.
It is.
And like, I know you kind of wanted to dabble a little bit into Antarctica, but I actually think we could almost spend a whole session on Antarctica, with Admiral Byrd and Project High Jump.
Yeah.
Yep. One of my favorite stories, and not only about them getting attacked and us losing servicemen from the supposed UFO attack from whatever base they found, but he also, let's not forget the story of him entering into Middle Earth and finding a civilization supposedly, and how they shut him up. There actually is a recording of him coming back and talking about all the amazing things he saw when he entered inner Earth through a huge hole in the Earth. And then that was the last time he ever talked about it. After that, he never talked about it again. Thank God.
Yeah, wasn't that radio interview done in like Argentina when he came?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. They didn't have their control as much as normally he talked about. I mean, again, I've seen a pretty convincing picture of a hole over supposedly our planet. Can we believe it all, JC? No. That's the upsetting part too. Like, what do we believe? You know what I mean? Going back to aliens, are they from outer space or are they from another dimension?
Well, I think we can all use our own deductive reasoning as far as science goes. Like, you don't have to necessarily be a scientist or an expert to learn and understand these things, right? Like, any of us we have free knowledge on the internet as long as it's not been tampered with, which in some cases it has been. So, like, you have to use your own deductive reasoning and come to your own conclusions about stuff sometimes. And I think even here on our own panel, we probably, we might come close on a lot of things, but I think we'd even still be apart on other things.
Yeah.
Agree.
And that's okay. Like, that needs to exist. Like, we need to be able to talk about things.
Yeah.
And JC, I'm never talking to you again. That's it. We're done.
He's off the show. I need a new co-host. If anyone in the chat is ready to listen to every word I say without question.
I mean, I've had to do that already for like 38 episodes, so.
It would be 50 if you knew his place.
It would be boring if it was the other way. Right? And you guys are doing a great job over there. Everybody make sure you head over to the Sasquatchers Paranormal Podcast and subscribe to their show. JC and Andrew are doing a great job. Definitely up and comers here on YouTube. Rye Voss at Codegas Codex of Curiosities as well. Just all-star lineup, and Ernie's going to be in and out all the time, I'm sure, through the year. So,
yeah,
a lot of exciting things coming up, for Planet 412, and I want to thank everybody. Oh man, I almost mentioned Portal's Numa 462. I mean, I don't want to keep getting, off subject because we got a lot of other shows we could talk about stuff. I want to talk about Skinwalker Ranch on another episode and about all the crazy stuff that goes on there.
Do you mind if I say something, Matt?
Go ahead, Brian.
So I have a fantastic interview coming out in mid-March with a gentleman who talks about Disneyland and portals and time travel. So like Matt was saying, make sure everybody subscribe, but definitely subscribe and you can hear the episode or watch the episode. And yeah, like we're going to be, and at the Supernatural Town Hall sessions, we're definitely going to be delving into all of this. And we all have like a background in just about everything. We all have a little bit of information in just about everything. Some of us more in other areas. And this is fantastic. Like I really enjoy this, and I hope our viewers and our listeners all really enjoy this as well.
I agree. And I'm happy to be with all of you guys.
Same here.
I thank you for all, every single one of you that are here and, helping this go, because I couldn't do this by myself. That's why I wanted to have this, man. I like all you guys, man. I was like, yeah, it'd be cool just to chill back, relax, and talk with the boys, man. So we can't all be in the same room together. This is fun. So we're gonna definitely have, hopefully, as long as everybody can do everything, weekly shows, and we'll announce them here. Is there anybody that wants to add to what we were talking about? I don't want to I feel like we're kind of heading towards the end here. So, if anybody
felt.
Yeah, I kind of got that.
wants to add anything?
No, I just want to add that there's a very real possibility that Matt, Drew, and myself at some point in the near future may actually be doing stuff together. We are close enough to each other that is a real possibility. And Ernie, I'm not sure where you at, but we'll somehow get you here as well.
You're in Ohio as well, right, Ernie?
In Southern Ohio.
Well, yeah.
Oh, well, okay. We're all on the same. Oh man, we got the Ohio gang. OHIO.
So Ernie was talking about the glyphs on the in the Aztecs, but that was actually the Mayan when we were talking about the spaceman, and that is right near where I live. That's in it's in the Palenque. It's in the archaeological site called Palenque, and it is, I don't say like right near. It's about like a 10-hour drive, but hey, and there's a train. There's a train now that goes there. Train Maya. They just put this in, and it will go to these sites. So maybe there could be a session of us going to these archaeological sites and exploring them.
I agree. That sounds cool. And just to let everybody else know too, I have something that I'm working on behind the scenes that may require a select group of people to maybe go somewhere that is one of the most haunted spots in America. We'll talk about that in the near future. I'm gonna have to let you guys know what I have in the works. I think it would be pretty sweet.
I got some guesses on what that spot would be, but I don't want to let the cat.
It's my house.
I won't say yes to anything. This is.
I'm like Winchester House or Lizzie Borden. I don't know.
Top secret. Everybody, I thank you for coming. It's an honor, Ernie, sir, my brother. Thank you for coming, and of course, our resident Sasquatchers, JC and Andrew. Thank you for being here, guys. Hope you'll be back.
Do you mind if I do a quick shameless plug, real quick? Something that I'm very excited about. I have a new series coming up. It's called I forgot what it was called. Far Out Folklore, where we're talking about weird and strange folklore from around the world. They're going to be short YouTube videos, probably about 2 to 3 minutes at most. There's one coming out this week. I'm not giving out the topic, but you might be able to figure out from the pictures. Go check out, find me on Facebook, find our group on Facebook, and you should be seeing it tomorrow, or what is tomorrow? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I don't know. You'll see it at some point. But I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a weekly thing, and yeah, that's it. Sorry. Thanks, Matt, for having us. And
I just want to say, I think it's going to be exciting. It's going to be really, really cool. I'm really looking forward to that, JC.
Thanks. Hey, Rye just got my money on Venmo. So thanks for the plug. Thanks for the plug.
No problem. No problem. You know, but you kind of shorted me. You know, I asked for 10.
And thanks, Matt, for having us all on. This is always awesome.
Yeah. And,
well,
and one last thing. Sorry, Matt. Is interview with Matt that I had will be dropping on YouTube on Thursday. And Matt, what do you have coming out?
You know what? I have all kinds of stuff coming out. We got new narrations, new interviews, regular format, and I have some other new stuff I'm thinking about possibly doing in the future. So please check me out at Planet 412. This should be a steady flow. The hardest thing is to edit, right, guys? Isn't that the worst?
Mm-hmm.
But Andrew are like machines. Like that logo, that new logo was really cool. I mean, just wow. So thank you, everybody. Everybody in the chat, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you to our moderators, Holly Mangum, CR Gay, and Larry Fisher. To everybody that donated tonight, you guys have a good night. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
Thanks for squatching.
You've landed on Planet 412. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as it greatly helps out the channel. I'll see you next time on Planet 412.